everybody, and welcome back. I am the Sovereign, and this is my court. If this is your first time in attendance, hello. Please consider hitting the subscribe button before you leave our kingdom. So I have been dodging certain discussions for a long time. I have been dodging. I was ducking and dodging and bobbing and weaving. Trying to avoid certain discussions that I just did not want to have because it hurts my spirit. It hurts my soul, and this is almost a complete repeat of what we went through last year. And ironically, almost exactly a year ago, I got a request in my email address from someone asking me to make a video about specifically police officers. You know, they came into my email and they were telling me, you know, there are some good cops and I feel like the topic should be explored, and I feel like you are the type of person that will look at the angle from both sides. And they sent me an email, and they also sent me an Instagram request. And I told them, like, you're right, this is a discussion that would be worthy of having, but at the time there was so much happening and so many victims at the hands of police brutality that I was like, it's inappropriate at this moment to be discussing cops and like their plight or looking at things from their angle. So I told them, like, respectfully, I can't do this topic right now because it would be disrespectful to everybody who's suffering right now. And they understood that. And that was almost exactly a year ago. And then here we are again. Can you guys tell I've been avoiding this? Because the first shooting that happened, you didn't hear a peep from me. I was like, I'm not rushing to make a video. Because I don't like discussing things like this all the time. Every now and then it's good to have the conversation, but I don't want to be the one. Can please somebody else take this? Y'all, I ducked that topic. And then another shooting happened. And I'm just like, at this point, I think we're up to 3. I think there's been 3 instances where young Black men have been killed at the hands of police within the last week or 2 weeks, on top of the fact that we are going through the whole George Floyd case all at the same time. One of these shootings happened in Minneapolis. Like, it doesn't get any worse. So I really have no choice, but I don't want to discuss the shootings. I don't want to discuss a rehash of things that we already know. I want to talk about the police. It's your time. It's time to talk about the United States police force. And I know, every time I discuss something important, there's always those people in the comment section who say, oh my God, how dare you talk about these issues? You're spreading toxicity to the world. I'm just like, your houses must not be clean. Like, if you think that ignoring issues makes them go away, I struggle to even fathom what your kitchen or your bedroom looks like. Do you just like sweep things under the rug? I hate to think what is festering under some of your beds if you think just ignoring important issues makes them go away. We have to talk about it. I understand if you don't want to, okay? Go bury your head in a sandbox somewhere. Legitimately, I can give you 2 suggestions of videos of mine that are perfectly happy and like fun, and you can go watch me talk about movies that Hollywood destroyed and whatnot. There's plenty of videos on my channel you can go and use as your fun little sandbox to ignore the problems in the world, but don't come here with the nonsense talking about we shouldn't talk about actual issues. It's never what I've been about. We're gonna talk about it. And furthermore, then there's the other people who say,
well, when you criticize someone, that means you hate them.
Let's just be completely clear about this. I love the United States. This is my country, okay? All of our problems aside, this is my country. Like, I love the United States. I'm talking gator fishing, apple dishes, DC Motown, Christmas wishes, beer and extra ammunition, USA. America, fuck yeah! However, when something bad in my country does happen, it is the responsibility of all of us involved to try and deal with this problem. First off, let me just say this. I don't hate you. I don't hate the cops. People seem to think Black people hate the cops. I don't hate the cops. It is not native to me to hate a man in uniform, especially when that uniform comes with handcuffs. It's just not something that I naturally would gravitate to, is hatred of a man in a uniform, okay? What can I say? To this day, I still love Marines. I can be totally honest. When police officers drive by my mom and I, and we see them, we immediately get happy tingles in our spirits. The bad ones too. We get the good and the bad tingles because though we don't hate you, we don't trust you. I personally do not trust the police, and I know the Black community does not trust the police. Though I do not believe that the overwhelmingly majority of the police force is bad, I don't think that there's as many good police officers as the police officers think there are. Let me just break this down, and I'm gonna be totally honest so that people, because I don't wanna I don't want to come off as if I'm attacking the police, but I do want to show from my perspective and a Black person's perspective how we feel without people feeling attacked. Because every time we talk about this, people are like, oh, you're attacking. No, just listen. I'm trying to help people understand, help the police understand, so maybe that we can come together. Maybe they can do a bit better. So what I mean is this. I do not believe that the majority of the police force is like Derek Chauvin. I do not think the majority of the police force is like this person. Honestly, personally, I only believe maybe 20% of the police force is that person. But the problem is, I believe 70% of the police force is like this person. You are not the type of person to maybe sit there and try to kill me. You're not the type of person to sit there and try to actually harm me or do harm to me or be vicious or evil towards me. But I do believe the majority, overwhelmingly majority of the police force is the type of police officer that would stand by and let their brethren or sisters of the force do something to me and not have my back and not protect me. I do believe that the overwhelmingly majority of the police force is more loyal to each other than the community they were appointed to serve. And that's why I say I do not trust the cops. I don't think they're out to get me, but if something were to happen to me, I don't think that they're gonna have my back when it comes to somebody, a member of their force, a man or woman in blue, stepping over the line and doing something to me. Their loyalty is not to me, it's to each other. And that's why people refer to them or think of them as a gang, because that's how they behave. No matter what their other fellow officers do that is so horrendously wrong, so blatantly obvious, they never say anything against another officer. And that's what terrifies me, and that's what terrifies the entire community. And it's not just the Black community now, because I'm very grateful to see that people outside of the community, you've started to see, because there's camera phones everywhere, there's security cameras everywhere. You're finally starting to see what we've been living forever. And it's not just affecting the Black community. Do you guys remember this video of a man, an older, elderly man, being pushed down by the cops? He was going to the police officers to re-deliver their helmet to them. He was not being aggressive. He wasn't even a part of a protest. They pushed him down, shoved him to the ground, and walked over his bleeding body, which I have to blur out, but it is in other videos of mine because I've talked about this before. They walked over his body, discouraged other officers from giving him aid. And then when these officers were to be punished for their treatment of this elderly man,
2 officers have been suspended without pay. But objecting to the suspensions, all 57 members of the Buffalo Emergency Response Team have resigned. They remain on the police force, but not in the special unit created to manage large crowds.
their fellow officers rallied behind the officers who were in trouble, being threatened with criminal charges, and supported those officers. Even though what those officers did were so blatantly wrong, their fellow men and women in blue had nothing to say but to defend the officers that clearly mistreated this man. This is why we don't trust you. It's like the police officers can do no wrong. And I get the position that you're in, but understand me as a person, if my brothers went so far as to harm another person or harm a woman, hell, if I found out my brother cheated on a girlfriend, I would not have his back. I would have words because I expect more of him. I love my brother, but I know where to draw the line and not be biased and let my brother know when you're out of line. I would do this to my own family. So when I see police officers not holding each other accountable, that is what is destroying any remaining trust that you have with any of the public, not just the Black community, the community at large. Police officers refuse to hold each other accountable. And police officers get angry when they're not afforded the respect that they feel like they are due because they are civil servants. But where are you serving your community? Where? I would honestly like to know, where's the civil servant behavior? Because every interaction that I've ever had with police officers or even seen with other people, they act like they are authority figures. They don't act like they're there to help. They don't act like they have any type of understanding of what service means. They have no customer service. There's no customer service to be spoken of. They treat everyone like they're children, like they're the glorified babysitters. And this is what makes it so bad for the very few actually good officers that there are on the force, the officers that do hold themselves and others accountable, the officers whose loyalty is to the public and not to their fellow officers, as it should be. It's unsafe for them to speak out, because then as soon as they speak out, they're punished, which exactly proves what I'm saying here. You're punishing officers for holding bad officers accountable because people expect officers to have loyalty to each other above all, instead of loyalty to the community and to the public. The officers have pitted themselves against the public by banding together and serving only each other. As I said, but I will reiterate because people always seem like, oh, you're just out to hate the cops. No. I only believe 20% of you are legitimately like evil and hurt people just for the fun of it. But 70% of you will stand by and watch. And then there's 10% of you who are screwed. You're legitimately good, but you're screwed and can't speak even if you wanted to. Now, when it comes to the Black community, it's even worse because people, I read the comments and everything, and I do see things from both sides, and people are like, but you need the police, don't you? You would call the police in a heartbeat if you needed them, though. I'm not a part of the abolish the police force club. I'm not a part of the, we should just get rid of police. Like, no, of course we can't. But Black people can't call on the cops the way the rest of the community can. We can't do that. And I'm going to tell you the honest truth. When Black people call the police to our neighborhoods for help, they don't show up in a civil servant capacity. They don't show up with their arms open, ready to help. When police force enter a Black community, they're not just going to come for the reason you called them. They're going to do background checks on your family, your neighbors. They're going to look around the neighborhood and see who has expired tags. It's very likely that when a Black person calls the police, they're going to take more than one person to jail. And they're likely not just going to focus on the person you called them for. They're looking at you like a suspect. Here is a video of 2 Black women who were harassed and accosted by a man who pulled out a gun on them. And when they called the cops, the man wasn't arrested. The Black woman was.
Loving says she was walking with a friend on March 5th near Southwest 113th Place and 201st Street when a man started yelling at them. An argument followed, and then the man allegedly pulled out a shotgun and pointed it at them. So they called police.
But he pulled out a freaking gun.
He pulled out a gun.
A shotgun. And pointed it at my face.
Okay.
Yeah. I told me he was going to shoot me, and I didn't even got anything to do with it.
What color was the shotgun?
He got cameras saying he got cameras. It's a camera right there. Y'all need to do something.
Oh yeah, and you need to chill out.
I
Okay?
just asked if I could go down next door and
You need
call
to
my
chill out.
kids.
You need to chill out because
Excuse
now you're gonna
me.
be arrested.
Excuse me.
You're being disorderly right now.
I'm asking. I'm talking to
You are
her.
gonna be arrested.
I'm talking to this lady.
Okay, I'm gonna give you one more chance. If you don't calm down, I'm gonna bring you in.
I'm calm.
And at one point, you can hear a male voice saying she needs to be, quote, corrected.
You know what? She needs to be corrected if anything.
Calm down.
Alright?
Why? Why do I have to be corrected when my life was just great and my daughter's sick? I just want to go to
Are you
the
gonna
store
continue
and charge
screaming?
my phone.
In this video, and the full video is linked below, and I encourage you to watch it because this is a great example of what I'm talking about. These Black women called the cops for help because this man pulled a gun on them. And instead of paying attention to the perpetrator, the reason of the call, they were looking for any reason to blame the Black women for the situation, saying, you are being emotional, which, yeah, she was. She had a gun pulled on her. But instead of treating these women as victims, they threw one of them in the back of a car and was completely unwilling to help the other. And this is what largely happens in Black communities. And this is why we don't call the cops. Because if I call the cops because somebody is standing outside of my house harassing me, when the cops show up to my house, they question me about my neighbors. They say, well, I know your neighbor over there. Why does he have so many bikes? Oh, you don't want to talk to me? I thought you called us to help. I'm just trying to ask questions about your neighbor. What about these Black men in your house? I think I recognize him. Is this car have relevant tags? Are you speed racing down the street? They start questioning us on things that are completely irrelevant to the call. They start treating me or my family members or my neighbors like we are suspects instead of acting or behaving as if they are there to help. This is why it's not safe for Black people to call cops in our neighborhood, because we will likely end up getting our neighbors or family members in trouble just for calling and asking for help. And yes, I've seen it happen. And yes, I've had it happen. I've had the cops be called for legitimate issues and then end up taking people to jail who weren't even a part of the issue. And yes, I don't know why people assume, well, you've never had negative experiences with the cops. Of course I have. One time on the way home from the gym with a man that I was dating, we were having a great conversation and parked in front of the garage and kept talking in the car. Suddenly, a cop pulls up, shines his flashlight in the window, and basically accuses me of being a prostitute based on the way that I look. And I took a lot of pictures while I was at the gym, so I can show you the outfits that I was wearing. The officer saw a black woman and a Latin man drive by and sit in front of a garage and assume that we were up to something bad when we were just having a really good conversation and was trying to carry it on. There was another time a cop pulled me over where I was in the middle of the street trying to turn into a park and some idiot didn't have the foresight to go ahead and pull out. So he had me blocking all of traffic and there was a cop behind me. So I'm like, well, instead of blocking the entire city from continuing on their way, let me just pull and let everyone go and then try to get into this park because I had a photo shoot to get to. Well, the cop follows me into my turn and turns his lights on me and says, well, you were driving erratically. That was a pretty sudden turn you took. And I'm like, dude, there was a cop behind me and I was holding up traffic, and besides just the purpose of the stop was illegitimate, which I didn't know at the time because I wasn't the type of citizen as I am now who knows their rights. He had no legitimate reason to pull me over the way that he did. He started questioning me about my outfit. Why are you wearing that? Why do you look like that? I can't even tolerate you dealing with this, like dealing with you right now. He legit said that to me, by the way. He said, I don't even want to deal with you right now. And that's when he left. But he questioned me about why I was dressed the way that I was. Oh, and my favorite time. When I was about 19 years old, I was driving home at maybe like 2 o'clock in the morning because I had went to city nights in San Francisco. I take myself out on girl dates because a man for what? A man for who? I take myself out. I looked nice and I was having a great time on my way home, and you guys know I'm a little bit silly, and I dance while I'm in my car. I was dancing, I was jamming.
Your boyfriend pull up, then we passing out clips, cause I don't fuck with that shit, cause I got hella hoes and I'm passing out.
I dance in my car. It's what I do. If you watch my motorcycle vlogs on the family channel, you will likely see me dancing on my motorcycle. But apparently this was very suspect to the cops, and that's why they pulled me over at that glorious 2 o'clock in the morning time and came to my window and said, well, they legit asked me why I was so happy, and then asked me to take a breathalyzer because they assumed that I had to be intoxicated to be behaving the way that I was. And once I passed the breathalyzer, because I'm not an idiot and I'm not irresponsible and I don't drink and drive, they made me get out of the car barefoot because I was wearing a club dress, even though, I was covered. I was still cute though. I was wearing a club dress and I was barefoot, and they made me walk on the side of the road to do the whole drunk test thing. And at the time I thought it was funny. I was giggling my butt off because there were 7 officers behind my car with serious faces with their arms folded, assuming that I had to be intoxicated. Like this black girl who's happy and jamming, and there's no way she's not intoxicated, and made me do the whole breathalyzer and walk test and all that BS and put my hands on the on the trunk of my car. I wasn't the type of citizen I am now, because now you guys know I'm a political science major and I study law. Didn't know my rights at the time, but now I do. And if that situation had happened again, I would have given them a piece of my mind because they had no right to do what they did. But that's how officers treat me. I'm always suspect. I'm always like, they don't see me as a victim or someone who's worthy of protecting or someone who needs their help. They always see me as a criminal, no matter what I do. And they will go so far as to base their assumptions off of how I am dressed. Any time that I have been in need, I have never been treated by the police force as someone worthy of protecting, someone worthy of their help, someone who needs them. I have never been extended any bit of empathy from a police officer, no matter what situation I was in. And before people like, oh, you're just one of the detractors who hates the cops, I volunteered for the cops. When the cops would put on little functions in my neighborhood that nobody would go to, I went. When the cops needed volunteers to train their newly trained SWAT team members, they needed volunteers to be shot at, I volunteered. There was a time in my life where I considered becoming a police officer, because after I found out that I couldn't have the job that I wanted in the military, because that was my original career path, was to join the military, I considered joining the police force until I just had to come to terms with the association that my community had with the cops, and I didn't want to be a part of that. But as I said in the beginning, it is not something that comes easy to me to just dislike police officers. No matter what I've done, what I could do, they are always viewing me, or worse, my family, my little brothers, as threats. And the cops either seem unwilling or completely oblivious to the position that their authority puts them in. I have been a part of city council meetings. I have spoken to police chiefs to their face who asked me during city council meetings, what are we doing wrong? They asked me, what are we doing? We're trying to make things better. We're trying to become one with the community, and the community is not responding. I've spoken to police chiefs. So let me tell you what this police chief told me during the meeting when they were legitimately looking to me to give them answers. They said, we put on basketball games and invite the community to come out and be with us and play with us and have community relations. We put on these little things twice a year and expect the community to show up to them to play. And I was so pissed during this meeting because it was an entire city council meeting that somehow I got invited to. And they were sitting there complaining to each other that the community wasn't coming to them. And I straight up, I interrupted the whole meeting. I said, sir, can I tell you what you're doing wrong? Because to us watching this, we know what they're doing wrong. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I said, you're expecting police officers, police force, unions, all of you, you're expecting your community to do the work. You're expecting your community to come to you? To you? It's not your public's job to build a relationship with you. That's like expecting children to build a relationship with their estranged parent. That's like expecting a child who hasn't had a relationship with his father for 15 years to go out of his way to make a relationship with his dad. You are the ones in authority. You do not sit there and expect the public to just show up for you. You earn the respect of the public. You go out and build those community relations. When I am out in my town, officers don't take the time to say hi to me. They don't. They don't look out of their window and just, how are you doing? Every interaction I ever have with a cop, they are always looking to me as a suspect, as if I did something wrong. I've never had an interaction with a police officer where they were walking up to me and it wasn't something that had to do with some sort of criminality. So what type of relationship do you think you're breeding with the public if the only interaction you're having with your public is when you're accusing them of being criminals? I do not know the police officers in my neighborhood. And they don't care to know me. They could be on their lunch break sitting at the table across from me. They won't say a word. Officers don't go out of their way to have positive interactions with the public. And then you sit there with your Karen-esque behavior and blame the public when you're the ones in power. And I do want to, just this one instance, I want to bring up the one instance, the one time in my life where a cop was nice to me. One cop in my all 2 decades of life, one cop went out of his way to be nice to me. And I'm going to tell you exactly how I felt. My mom and I were at a dead-end street in the middle of the road taking motorcycle pictures together. We were having a great time. We brought a portable speaker and we were listening to music, and a cop drove by the street. He slowed down, looked at us, and took off up the street. At first I was grateful, but then us being black women, we're like, no. It would be a miracle if that man didn't turn around. It would be like, I couldn't believe he didn't stop in the first place. I thought he was going to stop and be a jerk and tell us to get out of the street or all this stuff, because cops, we expect at this point that cops are going to be mean to us. And lo and behold, the cop turned around. He turned around and was coming back, and I was looking at her and I was like, Mom, it's about to happen. The cop's going to be, we weren't blocking traffic. We were at a dead end street. We weren't in anybody's way. And I'm expecting this man to say, you guys are going to get a ticket. He's going to check out our bikes and accuse us of using illegal mods, which we don't do. He's going to ticket us for being in the street. He's going to yell at us for, I don't know how I'm dressed, I'm showing too much leg. Public indecency. I'm expecting the worst from this man because at this point, I know better. Cops aren't nice to me. Man, this cop drove up to us and parked, and I have a picture of it, but I'm not going to show his face because I asked the man to take a picture with us and he said no, and I think it's because he doesn't want to get in trouble. But this picture was an accident. He like invaded our photo. But he drove up to us and said hi and was smiling and was being like, you guys are having fun on your bikes and you look good. I straight up thought he was going to like get out of the street and you're getting a ticket, and I thought he was going to be a complete dick. But he stayed for like a good 15 minutes talking to us about bikes and hanging out. And he used this excuse, which I thought was super cute. He was like, did you guys see a black Charger go through here? Like he was actually looking for someone. When in actuality, I'm sure he just came back to talk. And yes, I'm aware maybe he was just being nice because I had a little bit of cheek showing, okay? I did have some cheeks out. But it was my first experience with a police officer coming to me, and he wasn't being accusatory. He legitimately had a smile on his face. He like was actually friendly, and it blew me away to the point where like I wanted a picture with this dude because I'm like, this is the most friendly interaction I've ever had with a cop. And I was expecting the worst. That situation, that experience shouldn't be a rarity. I shouldn't be surprised that an officer was kind to me. But I am, and I was, and I don't expect it to happen. As I said before, it is not the duty of the public to build relations with the police force. It is the job of the force to repair their own reputation and standing within the cities and population that they serve. And the first step they need to do and take in order to repair this relationship is realize that your loyalty is not to each other, it's to the public. When it is time and warranted, you have to take the position to dispel the bad apples and bad officers from your ranks, from the police force. You have to get rid of them. You cannot protect them, you cannot coddle them, and you cannot take sides against the public you serve. If that's what you do, that's how the public's going to see you. I will say that I am on the side of defund the police because I do not believe the police forces, the police stations need to be afforded billion-dollar budgets. I don't think police officers need to be rolling around in militarized tanks. I do not believe that common police forces need military-grade weaponry without military-grade training. I think there can be some exceptions made for cities such as New York who deal with a high influx of, tourists in the population, and it's definitely a target for terrorism. But for those specific specialized forces, they should have training in order to handle that type of weaponry. But there is absolutely no reason for police officers to be rolling around with M16s. Police officers should not be trained to see every civilian as a potential threat. Police officers should not respond to every call with some sort of aggression. And police officers should not be trained to draw their weapon the moment they feel a little bit scared. Because the reason people are supposed to respect police officers is because you put yourselves in danger. But if you are unwilling to put yourselves in danger and so quick to shoot a civilian rather than wait a few seconds and take that little bit of danger yourself, why are we respecting you? You're not putting yourself in a position of danger. Every time you're in danger, you kill somebody. That's not brave. And this is one reason the public has much more respect for the military than the police force. The military is very, very cautious when it comes to using their weapons. They would rather talk down a true terrorist than shoot someone. They take every avenue to de-escalate a situation before engaging in something that could be potentially fatal. Servicemen and women put themselves in a position of danger in order to protect the public. Police personnel don't do that. At the slightest inconvenience, you shoot somebody, and then your reasoning is, I felt my life was in danger. You have a dangerous job. Your life's supposed to be a little bit in danger. Unless it is an immediate lethal threat, you should not immediately be pulling a gun on anybody. You should take that extra 10 seconds to see if that civilian can be saved. But once again, it seems like they treasure each other and their own safety above the safety of the public they are charged to protect. You see the issue now? Do you see the issue? It seems as if the police force is putting themselves above everyone. And until the police force as a whole, right? Because I'm not saying everybody's bad. Everybody's like, oh, you can't generalize. I'm not generalizing everyone. You can't generalize an entire group of anything or anybody except maybe Brazilians, because they're generally all sexy from the front and the back. Let's admit that. But typically you can't make generalizations of an entire country, people, police force, military. You can't do that. But this is an issue that has to be tackled as a whole. It can't just be the few bad apples. The entire police force has to come together. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Kick out the ugly and help each other get better and rebuild relations. There's a lot to be done and a lot of steps that can be taken to repair relations within the community. And quite honestly, I've told this to, like I said, some police captains and some police chiefs. And I told them, if you need more ideas, let me know. So if you are one of those people that I spoke to, or you are a part of another department and would like to talk to someone who's not going to yell at you or accuse you of being demonic, then I'm more than willing to help you in any capacity that I can and give you what I think are very easy ideas, but I get that some of y'all really don't get it. I don't understand how you don't get it, but I guess. If I can help, I am more than willing to help, okay? Like I said, I don't hate cops, but I damn sure don't trust you. I can't trust you. I can't trust you right now, no hard feelings, but I can't. In the comment section below, let me know what you think about the ongoing policing issues happening throughout the United States. Are you an officer, a part of the force? Let us know things from maybe your perspective so that we can hear your voice and how you're feeling. Do you legitimately feel like you're one of the good ones, but you're prevented from speaking out because there are some ramifications for saying anything against your fellow servicemen? Are you someone that's had negative experiences with the police force? I'm curious to see how everybody else feels on the issue, and I understand that it is a hot button issue, but I feel like there's a way we can all find to come together. I think we can do that. I'm hoping we can do that. Otherwise, what is going to become of our country? Make sure you give the video a thumbs up, and like I said, if you are not a member of the court, please consider hitting the subscribe button. I would love to see you again. I love you, I'll miss you, but you know I will be back in a future video. Bye!